Just try not to swallow your tongue.
What?
Oh my God!
What a wonderful day!
What is up, guys? My name is Ryan World Movies, and as you saw by the title, this is gonna be pretty much an ape or primate or gorilla or chimp, whatever you want to call it, themed video. We're gonna be reviewing the movies Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, as well as the new Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movie. Man, this year really must be the year of apes, or the year for ape movies. Movies with apes. And it's not even the Chinese zodiac year of the monkey yet. But I can bet what all primates around the world must be thinking right now.
What a wonderful day! What a wonderful day! What a wonderful day! What a wonderful day!
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Oh, whoops. Wrong movie. Maybe better luck next time, Mad Max.
Starting off with Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire.
Which takes place after the events of Godzilla vs. Kong, and it follows King Kong in his new home in Hollow Earth as he encounters more of his species, including a newly introduced titan named Scar King, who is a tyrannical leader of a tribe of other giant apes of Kong's species. Meanwhile, Godzilla has been continuing to roam the Earth's surface, maintaining its status as the peacekeeper between humanity and other titan monsters. However, in the film, Godzilla and Kong must team up once again to defeat Scar King before he begins his domination of the surface world.
So yeah, another kaiju monster movie. That's cool, right? An entire movie about Godzilla and King Kong working together. It's going to be awesome, right? Well, actually, at first I thought this movie was going to be the very first official buzzkill or movie that ends the current winning streak that the MonsterVerse is on right now. Because the idea of Godzilla and Kong teaming up should probably be like the last thing that anyone would want, right? Like, when I first saw the premise of this movie, I was like, oh god, why? And what you get is pretty much everything that you expect from it, pretty much. Like, the action is great, the camera shots are great for what it is, the sound and music are great. The story is very simple, but you're not really there to care about the story anyways. You're not really there to care about the characters either, other than the monsters. You don't have to worry about there being any deeper meanings or context. Like, the purpose of this movie is just pure entertainment and escapism first, at its core. You're just there to have a good, exhilarating, hype, adrenaline-rushing, heart-pumping time. And like all other monster films these days, this is another one that's 100% made for the IMAX 40X Max 40 Atmos experience, and 100% worth spending extra dollars for these tickets and the standard movie ticket that to see in these formats. Like, you literally cannot possibly view these movies in any other way. Like, it's a popcorn roller coaster movie. Literally. When one of my best friends and I went to see it in MX4D or 4DX in other places, and it just made the experience of watching the movie that much better. So much so that when we tried to get into our seats, we had a little trouble getting on as the seats were already moving and the movie had already begun because we were like 5 minutes late. You're literally moving with the action itself, and all the theater effects bring you that much closer to the movie, making you feel as though you're actually there. You know, it's not just the seats moving or vibrating, poking, or tickling you. There's also lighting effects around the cinema, there's smoke emitters at the bottom of the screen, and there's even small wind and water pump emitters at the side of your seat. It literally feels like you're riding a 4D simulation amusement park ride, minus, you know, the 3D aspects. So yeah, I actually highly recommend you watching these big blockbuster type movies like this, especially when it comes to these titan monster kaiju movies, where they should really make you feel more than just the large amounts of vibrations that are coming from the theater loudspeakers. Like, imagine going on a 2-hour plus 4D ride. Like, I know that 4D rides are not everyone's cup of tea, but for me personally, I feel that's insanely cool to experience. But anyways, in terms of the actual context of the movie, you know, we have Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, and Kaylee Hotto. I'm not sure that's how you pronounce her name correctly, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Reprised their roles from the last film, with newcomer Dan Stevens joining the cast. And I love them continuing the formula of putting more primary focus on the monsters and not just them as spectacles, but as fully fledged characters as well. I actually appreciate and gotta give them props to how they executed and wrote their scenes, because obviously they don't speak, but yet we are still able to understand their actions and emotions completely. And that's how we were able to stay engaged with them. I just hope that they continue with this method because it clearly works. I like how it's not so much as the humans following the monsters anymore. Well, it kind of still is, but for a big portion of the movie, it's more the human characters and the monster characters have their own side adventures before their paths align converge again for the climactic final battle. And I don't know about you guys, but I actually really don't think the story is half bad for this one. I mean, obviously it's not the best, and I appreciate their originality in creating and developing new characters and backstory lore for this monster franchise. You know, you got the villain for this movie called Scar King, who's this slender, red kind of ape monster. A smaller, younger ape that, I don't know if it's supposed to be like the son of Kong or something, but he actually has a name named Zuko. It's basically like Prince Zuko, but with the letter S instead of Z. And a new ice kaiju titan called Shimo, which I was surprised to find out that the new monsters introduced here are mostly original characters or ideas from Hollywood and not originally from any Japanese media, let alone Toho.
If you thought we couldn't get any more ice monsters after Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, then in comes Godzilla x Kong with another one with Shimo here.
But there is one other Toho monster that we do see in the movie, which is probably the biggest spoiler of the movie. So if you haven't seen it but still intend to, skip to this timestamp right here, because I'm about to give it away for those who are still around right now, or for those who don't really care about the spoilers, so here it is. Frickin' Mothra comes back in this movie. Yes, Mothra is frickin' back from the dead, baby! And when she came back, I got so ecstatic that I tried my best to stay calm because I think I was the only one freaking out there. Because yeah, I didn't really like how Mothra was killed off in King of Monsters, so to see her back, I couldn't be more happier. And knowing that she'll continue to live alongside Godzilla and now King Kong too, just mwah. I like how this movie was able to continue and build upon what was already established and what we already know from previous movies, or in a way, at least the way from I see it, adapts or acknowledges concepts from previous Godzilla or King Kong adaptations that have nothing to do with the Monsterverse. You know, things that doesn't retcon it, and I guess that's why I didn't really feel any sense of discomfort as the story went on. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But in the end, you know, with this movie, it's just, you know, same old as usual, really. It doesn't really introduce anything new here other than, you know, Kong finding others of his species, Kong getting a new bionic arm, clearly to sell more toys, Godzilla becoming pink because of reasons, and just further development of Kaylee Hato's character Gia and how she's just much more connected with her ancestral past from Skull Island more than ever, and how it's part of some big Forsaken prophecy as the last survivor of a tribe. And at the end of the day, it really is just the same old cliche story of monsters fighting monsters in the final battle, and once rivals finding a common enemy to team up against. Yeah, honestly, nothing really happens in this movie. And above all, the thing that frustrates me the most about this movie is that Godzilla is barely in the movie. One of the title characters of the movie, that near the climax of the movie, you'd almost forget that Godzilla is in the movie as well, and that this movie is supposedly about Godzilla as well, but yet he barely appears. You know, I feel like this movie just plays it too safe. Like, not only does it play out the most obvious plot that it could go with, but in my personal opinion, if you're not able to feel enough in the story, because everyone has all these happy endings you could hope for, you could see from a mile away as much as, you know, I wanted the opposite to happen. Like, I could tell you the exact premise of this movie, and you could go in just knowing that it's just gonna be that. There's a whole subplot of Gia reunited with her surviving tribe of her people from Skull Island, but in the end she just chooses to stay with Rebecca Andrews' character or with society up above. Which was the most obvious path, and for me was the worst one too, because her staying behind made the most sense for me. Now I know a lot of people are comparing it to Godzilla -1, which I think how most people are complaining about this movie. However, on the one hand, you know, of course, that movie is obviously going to be the superior one. But on the other hand, I think it's also quite unfair to compare completely two different movies in terms of quality and overall appeal. Like, can we just let them be? They're both clearly trying to do their own thing, and they clearly aren't trying to be better than the other. In fact, these two films have nothing to do with each other whatsoever. If you think they're in the same universe, honestly, I think that's just really dumb. Like, the only reason it feels like they're competing against each other is because of the people that are trying to unfairly compare the two. So yeah, Godzilla x Kong is not supposed to be the standard Godzilla -1, which is to say that the former, as a movie, is obviously the inferior one. And even though Godzilla x Kong The New Empire is certainly 100% guaranteed an absolute fun, blasting, and epic ride of an entertainment that takes the monsters seriously as characters, I appreciate the creativity that was put to come up with, you know, new backstory and lore in this universe. I feel like we're not seeing a lot of it anymore in postmodern Hollywood these days. However, in terms of the story and spectacle and scale, it's not really anything new and still the same kind of monster film, you know, it's meant to be.
I'm going to go ahead and give Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire a 7.5 out of 10 and a B-. Moving on to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which takes place 300 years after the conclusion of the previous film, starring a new generation of characters, and amongst this new generation is a young chimpanzee named Noah, and after his clan is attacked and abducted by another ape clan, led by Proximus Caesar, Noah must now embark on a journey of self-discovery alongside the old and wise Raka, as well as a human companion named May, where they all learn and question themselves on the future of apes and humans alike, and whether they can learn to coexist after centuries of apes dominating and separately, humans becoming feral.
So I was actually very nervous and hesitant about watching this movie at first. It's not because like it's potentially starting a new trilogy or it's taking place after such a great trilogy of films from what I heard, but truth be told, I have actually never watched a single Planet of the Apes movie ever in my life, let alone in a theater. And with Planet of the Apes being one of the most famous or well-known franchises within pop culture, I know that if anybody who's watching this video right now, you're all just slamming your computers down right now in absolute frustration of walking away. Which, yeah, you're more than welcome to do that. I don't mind. I don't blame you. But yes, this is actually my very first time watching a single Planet of the Apes movie in theaters. So I went to this knowing absolutely nothing about the franchise prior to this, and with no expectations whatsoever. Except other than the fact that Caesar died at the end of the last movie, which I think most people have seen or know by now, so I should be safe, but I don't know. And I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised. I actually enjoyed this movie a lot. Despite being like, what, a trilogy of films if not decades of films late. But thankfully, to my surprise, I didn't need to watch or know very well the previous films beforehand, as they essentially give a brief recap of what transpired at the end of the last movie, War for the Planet of the Apes, which came out in 2017, and is one of the main driving points of this film. Which is to say that I do find that this film starts off pretty slow, or this film seems like it's a bit slow in general, despite having such an engaging, action-packed first act right off the bat. Man, that's a tongue twister. And I get that this is due to the film trying to establish this new world that takes place centuries after the last one, this new generation of apes, as it's the start of a potential new trilogy in this Planet of the Apes reboot series. But I do think that this film does a great job in its open world building too. I really like the world that's established and set up here. And even though this is my very first Planet of the Apes film ever, I feel like even this can act as a great introduction for me to this franchise. So in saying that, despite its slower pace than I assumed the previous Planet of the Apes films, it doesn't change the fact that throughout this movie I was thoroughly entertained. I ended up being fully invested in it from beginning to end. I really like the story, which I feel like everyone can just follow along easily. It's actually a very simple plot that you can easily get invested in. I really like the characters, they were all very compelling. You understand and feel for each character, you understand their perspectives of where they're coming from, and are rooting for them to reach their own goals. Especially with Noah, who's played by Owen Teague, who you may remember as one of the bullies from the It movie, who is the lead character in this one, and goes on this journey as this broken, lost character trying to find his way in this world. So at first it may seem like he's the new Caesar, but this movie shows that he's not a direct copy of him, which is a good thing. And the film also gets you asking who is in the right and who is in the wrong here in the respective arguments, especially with how each ape tribe interprets Caesar's teachings and legacy, and how he's basically ape Jesus now. Particularly with the antagonist of the movie, who calls himself Proximus Caesar, who's played by Kevin Durand.
What a wonderful day!
And how in this new world, it's the apes that are now the dominant species, and it's the humans that have become feral, with only very few surviving humans that maintain their usual intelligence. Particularly with May, who's played by Freya Allen, who you may remember as Ciri from the Witcher series. And how with her comes this idea or argument with how she's like this last glimmer of hope for humanity, of trying to help or start this new generation of humans, trying to take back their place as the dominant species. But yeah, I just can't believe that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was able to make me feel and get 100% invested in a movie that's basically more than 90% CGI character and only like 2 human characters. Which gotta give major props to them, because honestly that's not an easy task to achieve and such a hard feat to be tasked with. Like, really makes me appreciate not only the good writing behind this, but also most importantly, the technology that goes behind these Planet of the Apes movies. It got me thinking back to James Cameron's Avatar franchise, which I know that series has the better technology, but the fact that the CGI makes these apes so convincingly lifelike and make you think that they are actually real-life beings, from how they move to how they talk, it really goes to show how far ahead and incredibly advanced the VFX and SFX technology in these films are. Like, it's so realistic that it makes you forget that these people are in performance capture suits and the human actors are interacting with, like, actually interacting with these apes. So gotta give a massive shout out to all the actors who did so well in this. They made each of their characters and their chemistry with each other very believable. Wait a second, Avatar, Planet of the Apes, hold on. Oh. That explains a lot. By the way, one of my best friends for some reason was just constantly dying with laughter for several scenes throughout the movie, and I wasn't sure why. I kept asking him, you know, why are you laughing? Why the hell are you laughing at such an intense scene? But I don't know, I guess I couldn't help but let him enjoy the movie the way he did, I guess. Some other things I really liked include the music, which I thought was really good. There's some symbolism throughout the movie, which I was really surprised to see, especially with the telescope and the satellites at the end of the movie too. It plays a minor but key part in the story. The way I see it, it's both for May to see if there's others like her in the world. For Noah, though, it makes him curious as to what else is out there beyond Earth, potentially hinting towards future installments involving outer space, like how the original trilogy was. Wait a minute. And if I were to guess, there seems to be plenty of religious symbolism in these Planet of the Apes movies in general too, which I don't know if that's intentional, if this is like a recurring thing with these Planet of the Apes movies, but yeah, you can let me know in the comments below. And the final battle at the end of the third act, you know, as someone who's going to this as my very first Planet of the Apes movie, let me tell ya, goosebumps, man. I got freaking goosebumps at that ending. However, speaking of which, as much as I enjoyed this very first experience of watching a Planet of the Apes movie, there's so many things that I wasn't a big fan of in this movie, including how it's not entirely clear on the exact location that this is taking place in. Speaking of religious symbolisms, there is actually one that I did manage to catch, and that is when May and Noah are captured by the villains, and they're taken to Proximus Caesar's lair, which is basically in the shape of a large ark, and I kept thinking, oh, right, Noah, Proximus Giant Ark Light, Noah's Ark, and that, like, I don't know, something about that just made it a bit corny for me. Also, this line.
What a wonderful day!
What a beautiful day! Yeah, that was also a bit cheesy for me, to be honest, despite how cool it may seem for other people. But overall, yeah, just talking about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is actually making me like this movie even more. Okay, I just really like this movie a lot, guys, if you could tell. Like, almost everything about it is just so damn good, apart from a few minor nitpicks, and I guess in the years to come, I'll continue to have a soft spot for this movie, because this is my official introduction to this franchise. And man, dude, like, this actually makes me excited more than ever to actually consider finally having a go to start watching the rest of the Planet of the Apes movies, which I hear most of them are really good. But saying that, I don't know how this one compares to the past trilogy of films of this reboot series, but I do have a strong feeling that it's a very befitting sequel, clearly with plenty of heart and soul put into this one, that just hits the right notes to help keep this franchise consistent from what I can understand, with plenty of things to help it to establish a new trilogy of sorts. I'm going to go ahead and give this movie an 8.5 out of 10 and an A-. Who knows? This could be my newest favorite film franchise of all time, and once I get to watching those, I'll be sure to make videos on them too, in however way I can. But that's all that's gonna do with this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you like this, make sure to punch that subscribe button in the face, and be sure to press a thumbs up and leave a like on this video, because that'll help out a ton. And if you know anybody else who's a fan of the Planet of the Apes franchise, be sure to share this video around, or anyone who's a big film or moviegoer in general, just share them around. That'll help out a lot too. But thank you so much for watching once again. If you want to check out other videos of other things that I covered so far this year, then you can look for the playlist in the description below. But that's all it's gonna do for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Rhinos, roll out, take care.